Good evening and welcome to QUT Web News. 4 months on and life is finally looking up for residents in the Lockyer Valley. The local council today unveiled its master plan to move flood-ravaged residents to higher, drier ground.
The Lockyer Valley town of Grantham will never be the same. There's no water in sight, but all around are reminders of what happened 4 months ago, when the entire region was hit by a devastating flood that claimed 17 lives. While parts of Grantham look like a ghost town, today's voluntary land swap deal is seen as a way forward and will hopefully protect residents from future floods.
Essentially, people will be offered the opportunity to actually swap the land that they have for land on the hill under a set criteria, which is very much a title-for-title type swap.
The estimated $30 million plan will mean residents can relocate to a parcel of land adjacent to the Grantham township. Of the 80 blocks of land released, 55 of them have already been snapped up. The aim is to have residents in new homes by Christmas.
I'm considering it, yes I am. I've got one home that's left, the other home got washed away, one rental property, and it's in the main stream of water, so yes, I am considering it very seriously.
But not everyone is keen to take up the offer.
Like a cyclone, I've been through a cyclone before and I thought, well, I rebuilt then, so why not rebuild now, and hopefully we won't have another one of these nice big waves of water come through.
The Mayor says this isn't a push for a new Grantham, just an opportunity for some residents to relocate. The land swap means the inundated areas of Grantham will now be earmarked for a special memorial, for parkland and even for agricultural purposes.
The land swap might be a great plan for Grantham, but the truth is many residents are simply not going to be able to afford the cost to move, a cost that they're expected to pay.
The actual cost, if they wish to rebuild or move their house, that physical cost will be theirs. You know, this is a fairly advantageous project for a relatively small council to undertake.
Whether they stay or whether they go, the sentiment is it's now time for Grantham to move on. Clare Hunter, QUT News.
The Queensland Flood Commission Inquiry that started nearly a month ago has made its way back to Brisbane. Today's proceedings looked at how flood information and supplies were delivered to people in the western suburbs of the city, as well as how communities could respond to natural disasters in the future.
In January, the western suburbs of Moggill and Bilbowrie were underwater. Today, they were under the Commission's spotlight. First up, it heard from members of community-based emergency response groups, which formed because of the lack of somewhere official to go.
Everything's contained in the one centre. So when that went under, we were without any services whatsoever.
Bruce Flegg, the member for Moggill, agreed, saying once the vital shopping centre was flooded, the area was left with very little. He also suggested a $50 cap on spending for emergency purchases,
so that as many people in the community as possible can get their share of fuel and milk and bread and baby supplies and other essentials of life.
He said in an emergency, information was just as important as food, and fears the community would be no better off if another flood happened tomorrow.
And I'm hoping that from this we can learn, and next time we're confronted with large communities that are isolated, without power and with only limited information, that we're able to do things better.
That's the sentiment being heard at all of the Commission's sittings so far.
Having already sat in Toowoomba, Dalby, Goondiwindi and St George, the Commission will move to central Queensland later in the month.
The Commission will sit in Brisbane until the end of the week. Elly, Bradfield, QUT News.
The state government is considering introducing compulsory audio recording in taxis across Queensland. The draft proposal intends to improve passenger and driver safety, but is seen by some as an unnecessary invasion of privacy.
Confidential taxi conversations may become a thing of the past. Surveillance cameras were introduced to all taxis in 2006, but mandatory audio recording wasn't included. Now the government's plans to change this have been met with strong resistance.
Now we're just extending the system even further, creating an even greater invasion of privacy, and there just is no justification for it. It's been sprung on the public. The Privacy Commissioner hasn't been consulted. It's just a debacle.
The opposition quick to criticise the government's handling of the proposal.
Well, it doesn't seem to have been publicised much at all. There's a few people in the industry know about it, but The fact that the Privacy Commissioner didn't know anything about this. The government didn't think it was necessary to go talk to the Privacy Commissioner.
Access to the recordings will be limited to police and appropriate authorities. Some members of the industry completely dismiss the privacy concerns as irrelevant.
Look, this is just a matter of course. It's going to happen anyway. The technology's there. We can use it. I don't understand what people are upset about. It has nothing to do with privacy issue. There's no way in the world it's going to finish up on YouTube.
Under the state government proposal, every driver and every passenger will be recorded once the meter starts. But cabbies already have the option to record if they feel an incident requires it.
We already have it there. If we feel in danger, we can activate something that will record everything that goes on in the cab.
Submissions to the proposal closed at the end of last month. Lincoln Humphries, QUT News.
Queensland victims of crime want their voices heard. Their calls are being backed by politicians who say the courts need to pay more attention to those who are left behind after someone is murdered.
On a beautiful Brisbane day, the ugliness of homicide was there for all to see. The Queensland Homicide Victims Support Group was calling on the community to help build a safer state and understand the pain and suffering victims experience.
We must look at legislation and laws that really prop the victim of the crime up into a support network and what resources we can give them, because at the end of the day they're the ones that have this everlasting impact on their lives.
Families of the victims say when Judgment Day comes, the impact the crime had on their lives is often overlooked. In Queensland courts, not all victim impact statements are made public.
A lot of victims want the ability to have the judge read out their victim impact statements in court so the offender and the public can know what they've gone through.
Support organisations say victims of violent crime need more help as they struggle to cope with the loss of a loved one.
In 2002, my 18-year-old son was murdered by a 16-year-old. We don't know the full circumstances. He was walking through a park and the 16-year-old, it's one stab wound, he was gone.
Despite the overall decrease in crime, statistics show the rate of murders in Queensland have increased by 19%. Ross Thompson says the road to recovery can be difficult and long, but there are those willing to help make the journey a little bit easier.
Don't think that you're going to try and fight it through by yourself. It is a very rocky road.
The Queensland Homicide Victims Support Group says it will continue to try to assist grieving Queensland families. Brenda Riley, QUT News.
Enthusiasts of all ages are gearing up to see the latest range of trucks, trailers and transport equipment on display at this year's Brisbane Truck Show. 40,000 people are expected, wanting to see the latest innovations in technology and engineering in the industry.
It's the largest event of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere, and this year's truck show is promising to be bigger and better. Organisers say the show contributes to a boom in truck sales.
A lot of the public that are looking to buy trucks, they'll wait until a truck show like this comes out so they can see those new models and then they purchase after that.
The 260 exhibitors hold out for the show, which is held every 2 years. At Volvo, a simulator was used to show the importance of wearing a seatbelt and that safety is their company's core value.
While no trucks will be sold at today's exhibition, that doesn't mean that retailers can't promote their own products and blow their own trumpet.
Now the doors are open, it's really fantastic. People can come in, I guess, see our products, engage with our company and I guess take part in what we have to offer the market. So it's very exciting for us, yes, absolutely.
There were some big toys for some big boys, but some proved that this show isn't just for men.
Yeah, look for the highlights. Yeah, it's good. It's really nice.
Others showed that size doesn't matter when it comes to driving these big machines. The exhibition is at the Southbank Convention Centre until Sunday. Hannah Doody, QUT News.
Time now for a look at the weather, with the pleasant autumn conditions dominating the day in the Queensland capital, where our city-based time-lapse weather cam shows how a clear sky got the day kick-started before some light cloud moved in, remaining that way until early to mid-afternoon, when it began to clear once again. Around the nation tomorrow, and it will be cloudy in parts, but mostly fine in all capitals tomorrow, although Canberra is expecting an early frost and the first minus reading of the year. But that will clear to a fine day. Isolated showers are expected along the eastern seaboard. That brings you up to date with the weather.
And that's all the news we have for now.
We'll be back tomorrow with more QUT News. Goodbye.
Goodbye.